welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and this is the second custom video for Alexander. If you haven't seen video one, link in the description, but we looked at his largely neo-vintage Rolex collection, and in this video we're going to address the GMT that he's thinking about getting. So let's start where we left off. He writes, as stated above, because my daughter Yumiko has taken the Explorer 2 for her own, I probably won't get it back. I'm thinking of getting a GMT Master 2. I don't mind a stainless steel or a two-tone or even white gold. This is where I need a second opinion. Do I go stainless steel Coke or older? So that would be, well, that would be a pre-ceramic. It would be a 16710 or a Fat Lady, a 16760, because Cokes only came on the GMT Master 2. So pre-ceramic Fat Lady or the last of the pre-ceramic GMT Master 2s. Or an all-black stainless steel with green. So he's talking about the all-black ceramic 40mm 116710 with the green accents and the green 24-hour hand. Discontinued, of course. A new Pepsi, a Batman, a Batgirl, or the big boy white gold with the blue dial. And you're forgetting, Alexander, the white gold with the meteorite dial, of which I took a look at my friend Marcelo's. Link in the description to that video. That's a beautiful watch, as is the blue dialed version. Beautiful because they fly under the radar with that white gold, not the yellow gold, not the rose gold. And in my opinion, they're probably the most F-off Rolex, period. I mean, I think they're more amazing to me than any yellow gold, diamond, bejeweled, whatever. So those are amazing watches. Or the root beer, stainless steel, and rose gold. This is my dilemma, first world problems, what to choose. Thank you very much, Austin. Cheers, Alexander. P.S. I hope to go to Japan next summer as my daughter Yumiko is graduating university next year, and I will be giving her a trip there. I want to go too, as I would love to visit Japan. Hopefully I can purchase my next Rolex there with your help. Watch shopping around your secret shops. Well, let me know if you come here, Alexander. Absolutely, I'd love to help you out. It would be a lot of fun. All right, so GMT. What GMT should he get? Now, this is largely personal, but in my opinion, you need to make a decision between pre-ceramic or ceramic. That's the first crossroads right there. And I say that because the aesthetics are so different. And we're going to go through some of the differences, but for the most part, I think you probably know if you're a pre-ceramic guy or a ceramic guy. Maybe not. I think it's so, well, maybe it's not such an easy question because it's not all about aesthetics anymore, right? A lot of it is the influence that these difficult to get modern pieces play on our psyche, and we think, well, I kind of want that because nobody can get it and I can get it, and you've got all of those sort of mind games going on, all right? But if you step back and you just look at it as an aesthetics decision, I think it's pretty clear probably which way you'd want to go. But let me go through some of my feelings on it. All right, so obviously I'm a pre-ceramic guy. I love pre-ceramic pieces. Would I like to get a ceramic piece? Yes. Would I want to get a ceramic piece if you could find them in stores? Maybe one at the most, but that would be it. I would do that to have the experience, to kind of check off that box, to say to you guys, look, I have a ceramic piece. Look, I still love the pre-ceramic pieces, even though I've got the ceramic piece. It would just be sort of checking off that box more than anything, and I would do it. But would I get any more than that? Not really. Why? Because I like the pre-ceramics more, and it really comes down to the aesthetics and the vibe and the character of the pre-ceramics. Let's go over some things that I like about the pre-ceramics. Well, first of all, you can change the aesthetics of the pre-ceramic GMTs, and let's just pick the GMT Master 2 16710. If you get a Coke, well, you can change it to a Pepsi or an all black. You can get the different bracelets, the Oyster bracelet or the Jubilee bracelet. Now you can do that now with the new 126710. Now if you go with a discontinued 116710, whether it's the all black or the Batman, you're not going to have those options. You can still put it on a NATO, but you're not going to have the options of really changing the bezel insert, and that's not something I would mess around with this Cerachrome, because it's inflexible, and if it cracks, you're screwed. So if you really like changing things out, and you put different straps on just about all of your watches, and thinking about your two-tone submariner, you've changed the bezel inserts, and that's not going to be something that you can do. So if you want those options, then I would go pre-ceramic. And if you really like changing your straps, a holes case. So a holes case would be anything prior to the Y serials, which came out in 2002, 2003. Mid-Y serial, they started coming out with the no holes cases, but anything prior to that would be a holes case. Now, I love the holes cases, not because the aesthetics. Now, if you listen to Archie Luxury, he often says, Austin loves the aesthetics, the pre-ceramic tool watch look of the holes cases. That really wasn't originally what I liked about him, but now that I think about it, and he's brought that up, I do. I think they look great. It's got that kind of vintage, neo-vintage, or vintage feel to it. But for me, it was always about practicality, changing the straps, and more than anything, here it is right here, making sure those spring bars are seated in the lug holes. I mean, that's really important. If you've ever had a no holes case, sometimes you think you have, and then all of a sudden the bracelet comes off. Well, if you're walking around or you're swimming and that happens, it could be a disaster. So I love that visual confirmation. That's really important to me. So being able to change the looks of the GMT pre-ceramics is a real advantage there. Now, of course, you've got the GMT or the GMT Master 2, and let's just assume you want to go pre-ceramic. Well, I love all of them, all right? But if I had to choose, I'd probably go with the GMT Master 2, because you get that Coke option. Cokes don't come on the straight GMTs. Also, you can separate the local hour hand and the 24-hour hand, and it just gives you more options. And what do you trade? Nothing, really. I mean, it says GMT Master 2 as opposed to GMT, right? Or GMT Master. So you don't get the Roman numeral on there. And some people might say, well, it makes the dial a little bit cleaner. Really, that little Roman numeral is that big of a deal? I don't think so, but it's worth the trade for the Coke and for the functionality. All right, about now is where I should say something nice about the ceramic pieces. And they've got clearly a more modern look. Some people like that. Some people aren't into the neo-vintage, vintage look. They like the newest, latest, and greatest. They like to show up and have the newest thing, and that's a large part of why those pieces go for so much on the gray market, because I think people want them, and it was a bit of a show-off thing, I think, all right? Or they really like the aesthetic, and there are people walking around that just like the aesthetics of the ceramics more. And it's going to have the new movement, and in theory it should be better. In practice, it's really going to depend on your particular example. Both of my GMT Master 2s run at less than plus 1 second a day, so they're very accurate. Is it going to be more resistant to magnetization? Probably it should be. It's going to have the blue parachrome spring. Have I ever had a problem with my Niverox hairspring? I haven't, but again, if you're worried about that kind of thing, look, it's just sort of peace of mind. And I think when you get the newest movements, it's sort of, the odds are it's going to work better. The odds are you're not going to have any problem, or you're going to have less of a problem. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, of course, there are other aesthetics like the case. I got to talk about the case. Now, the case of the ceramics, it's very blocky, and the cases on the pre-ceramics are beautiful. They've got chamfers, or chamfers, depending on how you pronounce it, and bevels, and they are so well crafted. I mean, it's such a beautiful case shape, and what's interesting is they're very informative, because you can see oftentimes a little bit of the history of the watch, if they've been polished or not. And that can be a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. But I would say a pristine pre-ceramic case with all the lines, there's really nothing better. And I think the modern pieces, case-wise, just can't hold a candle to those. But the advantage is you're missing a lot of those beautiful nuances, and so it makes polishing a lot easier. In fact, you could probably polish a ceramic piece a dozen times and you would never know it. And so if you're looking to polish your pieces, that could be a good thing. All right, let's talk about the dial, the hands. Now, I prefer the pre-ceramic dial hands. I think they're well proportioned, but if your eyesight is failing, you're getting a little bit up there in years, then maxi dial, the maxi hands are going to be a little bit more legible. But if that's a problem, you might want to think about going for a 42 millimeter Explorer 2. Those really legible. All right, so there's that. Now, I feel like I should say something about the bracelet. A lot of people say, oh, the pre-ceramics, they have kind of garbagey bracelets. Not my words, theirs. Don't think so at all. I'm sure the bracelets and the clasps are nice on the modern pieces. They might be a little bit shackle-like. The thing I love about the pre-ceramic bracelets, they're light, they're hollow, they're really, really comfortable. I've never had a more comfortable watch on than a 5-digit Oyster bracelet or Jubilee bracelet. So that's another personal opinion. I mean, I have no problem with the pre-ceramic bracelets, but a lot of people do. So there's that to consider. Also, while we're talking about bracelets, let's talk about the visual differences, all right? So the modern pieces have the polished middle links, the pre-ceramic pieces have the brushed middle links, and so that goes to the aesthetics, but also the vibe of the watch. This is huge for me because, well, I don't really like fancy things. I don't like blingy things. I like sort of the tool watch vibe, and the pre-ceramics have that. I think those are beautiful. And let's talk about the character of these watches, all right? Now, to me, the modern pieces are sort of flashy, trendy. Look at me. They don't look like tool watches. In fact, they look so far removed from the era of Rolex as the, you know, the aviation watches, the dive watches, like what James Bond wore, what Pussy Galore wore. So far removed that the modern pieces really seem to me GMT Master 2s in name only. I mean, it was really a paradigm shift as far as the aesthetics go, and I much prefer that. And a lot of it comes to that tool watch aesthetic. The watch as not as a fashion accessory, not as an F-off piece of bling, but as a tool in the field. And I love that. And an added bonus to that, if you're 44 like me, is that when you wear a pre-ceramic piece, I think you'll look cooler. So let me just choose a guy like myself, 44-year-old guy, sitting on the train. He's got a Batgirl, Batman on, and then next to him, a guy with a pre-ceramic GMT Master 2. Now, why do I think the guy with the GMT Master 2 pre-ceramic looks a little bit cooler? Well, because maybe, for all I know, he got in a little bit earlier. He was a Rolex guy long before Rolex was as cool and trendy as it is. That guy with the Batman or the Batgirl, look, how did he get it? Did he just stumble upon it when he went to an AD? Not likely. He either had to buy a bunch of stuff or he overpaid for it. And so there's something kind of lame about that, in my opinion. But this guy right here, I mean, he might have gotten that A serial when he was 24, right? It was 20 years ago. And he's been wearing it ever since. That's cool. I mean, he got in on the ground floor. And so when you buy a pre-ceramic, even though you got it last year, you almost get to adopt that history. I mean, it's crazy because I get after Squally for poaching history, and here I'm saying, you get to poach the history. I get it. I get the irony there, but it's the mystery. And so nobody knows if I went out and I got it, you know, within the last 5 years, like they would if you're wearing an oyster braceleted ceramic Pepsi, because they've only been out for a year. I'm talking about this steel piece. But I love the mystery there. And so I really kind of respect people when I see them on the train, they're guys, and they've got a pre-ceramic Rolex on, because I think, you know, you might have had that for decades, and instantly he gets credit, even though he might have bought it last week, all right? Now, if you're 20, it doesn't really work like that, because I sat across from a 20-year-old guy who had a pre-ceramic, and I remember thinking, oh man, awkward. Is that your dad's watch? Did your dad buy it, or did you pick it up pre-owned? Just like me, all right? He couldn't he couldn't do it as well as somebody who is age appropriate, all right? Who knows, maybe he would have looked better with a ceramic piece because, you know, he was like 19 or 20, and so it made sense that, you know, he would have gotten it last year. But it was clearly either a pre-owned piece or his dad's piece. You know what I'm saying here? Okay, you probably do. So that's one thing I love about it, and it goes to the to watch vibe of it, and they're a little bit more low key, a little bit more down to earth. They, to me, are more authentic adventure watches, even though you're probably as unlikely to take a 16710 on a safari as a 126710. But if you do, the pre-ceramic is going to look a lot cooler, all right? It's going to fit a little bit more. All right, so let's talk about practicality for a minute, and that's getting the piece, all right? So if you've got a relationship with an authorized dealer, then maybe you can get a ceramic piece at retail. Now, I would never pay over retail. I just don't like them that much. So if you're the same, that's going to put you in a situation where you might not be able to get a ceramic piece, all right? Now, when it comes to the pre-ceramic pieces, they've gone up, but the price rises, in my opinion, are a little bit more organic in the sense that it's just the going rate. And so if you buy one today and you hold it for 5 years, it's probably going to go up. Now, the fact that they keep going up is kind of crazy to me because a 16710 is the best watch in the world, in my opinion, but they're not worth over 10,000, okay? Wait till this little anecdote at the end. Okay, hold on. But let me just say, they're getting to me to not be worth it as good as they are. But I'm sort of waiting for everybody to realize, look, they're great watches, but they're not worth that much. But again, they just continue to go up. Now, what's going on the modern market, I think is a little bit weird. And again, it's not as organic, and it's a little bit confusing to me. And if Rolex started pumping them out, then prices would tank. Rolex will never do that, so it's really not a risk. But I can't help but feel that they're overpriced because, again, you've got people that want the latest, greatest. They got more money than sense, or they got the sense, but they just have so much money. Who cares? There's probably a lot of it, that they pay these prices, and then there you go. I mean, it just continues. And that's why the other day I was in Nakano and I saw a 126710 oyster braceleted Pepsi, 25,000 USD. All right, that's 150% over retail. All right, totally not worth it unless you're so minted that you got money to burn. Why not? And you show up at the country club with it tomorrow, and you will impress everybody. It's a drop in the bucket. And people are buying the watches. Those kind of people are buying those watches. And so there you go. It's a little bit strange, and I don't quite understand that market because it's so odd, okay? All right, so there you go. Now, I hinted at a little anecdote and about all these people who are paying these crazy prices for these pre-ceramic GMT Master 2 as well. Look, I almost did it myself the other day, and I made a video and I didn't upload it because I don't know, I didn't like it because I talk about price in there, and I didn't want it to come off as like a humble brag, like, oh, I almost got a watch for this much, but I changed my mind. You know, it's basically, you might think that I'm trying to throw out like how much, you know, I wasn't trying to do that. I was just sort of, I just was sharing a real anecdote about what happened to me the other day. And so if you want to know these nutty people that are driving the pre-ceramic market up, all right, well, you're looking at them. You're looking at one of them. And I will upload that video with this video just so you can see what I almost did, all right? And yeah, there you go. Let me know what you think, guys. Pre-ceramic or ceramic. I mean, they're both great. They both have their advantages. I am a pre-ceramic guy. I love them. They don't make them anymore. To me, they hearken to the tool watch past. Visually, they're beautiful. I love the cases. I love the dials. I love the hands. I love the 120 clicks. I love the different looks of the aluminum bezels, the fact that you can change them. I love the lightness of them, the thinness of them. I love everything about them, all right? But there are clearly advantages to the modern pieces as well. You guys know I'm a pre-ceramic guy, so you know I'm biased. But I talked Alexander through some things to think about, but ultimately it's going to be his decision. And I think if you just look at it from a visual point of view, I think it's really not that hard. I think most people are either a pre-ceramic guy or a ceramic guy, all right? At the end of the day, when you just block out all the nonsense and you know, ceramic fever that's going on, or pre-ceramic fever, or any of the FOMA that's going on, all right? Now, that's step one, Alexander. Decide if you want to go ceramic or pre-ceramic. And then once you do that, decide if you want to go blingy over the top. I mean, if you do, then gold, two-tone, that kind of thing. Or if you want something sort of usable. Now, if you're wanting to replace that Explorer 2 16570 that your daughter has, well, I would go with a pre-ceramic piece, steel, and there are a couple configurations that you could go for. That's sort of a different video. We don't want to go down that road today. But that's probably what I would do. And again, you have a lot of neo-vintage pieces, and you're just like me. You're thinking, oh man, I love the neo-vintage pieces, but should I get something modern? Well, that's for you to decide. For me, well, just watch the video I'm going to upload with this one. All right, you can see what I almost did the other day. But yeah, anyway, I don't even know myself if I want to go ceramic or not. But I will just leave it like this. I love the pre-ceramic pieces. And if I had to choose one GMT, and you're probably going to get just one GMT because you're normal, unlike me, then I would go with a pre-ceramic piece. They are beautiful, all right? Take care. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.